What is up, everybody? Solomon here. Super excited to be with Genfinity, interviewing a multitude of builders across Web3. Well, I want to first and foremost give a shout out to HashPack for helping to put these together, all of these showcases and all hands across the entire ecosystem. But I'll tell you, today is a little bit of a bucket list one for me. We have Miguel Vias with us today. He's leading Pump Games. These guys are building out community-driven and kind of competition in the gaming ecosystem, starting out on Hedera with HashPack and SaucerSwap. Big background here with Ripple as well. So we're not going to dive too much into Ripple today, but I am going to kind of ask the low-hanging fruit question. Miguel, can you give us an intro of yourself, a background of yourself, and talk a little bit about what you're doing with Pump Games and why Hedera?
Yeah, no, thank you, Solomon, for having me on, man. It's super fun to do this. So I appreciate the platform, and Phil, it is always lovely to see you, sir. So my background's traditional finance. I was in finance for about 15 years before I made the move to Ripple in 2016. I was head of markets there from 16 to 20, so pretty formidable time in the history of that market. After Ripple, though, I went to Forte Labs, which is a blockchain gaming company. And there I got a bit of the gaming bug. Even though 21 and 22 were very interesting times in Web3 gaming, nothing really stuck. And Pump Games was born out of a desire to make something stick, right? To basically figure out a way to make these two things which are digitally native, both crypto and gaming, and see if there's a way to have them sort of mutually or synergistically make each other better. So that's how sort of Pump came to be, and there's been multiple iterations, but I think this is the one that is showing the most promise.
So I'm curious your take, because I know you've been here for a while in this space. It's rare that we do. I do have interviews where people have been here longer than me, and you're certainly one of these individuals. But we've seen such a kind of an evolution of blockchain and crypto and communities, and there's been all sorts of ups and downs and in betweens. I'm just curious, before we dive like too deep into the weeds, and we definitely want to get into the weeds with Pump Games here, but what are your kind of takes on broader adoption of blockchain and distributed ledger? I've said this like a bunch of times during interviews and even in videos. It almost seems like on a daily basis, there's like multiple pieces of news that come out that 5 or 6 years ago would have driven 6 months of news, with how big the adoption is. Like, just curious your take on it.
Sometimes I'll be speaking to folks about, sort of 2016, 2017, and I have to caveat it with, you have to understand there was like 7 tokens, right? Like it was just a different planet. And that really isn't that long ago when you think about sort of the history or the development of a brand new asset class in a capital market. So it's all happening at lightning speed. But I think what seems to be really exciting for me is it seems like we're doing some Web2 type stuff. And what I mean by that is there are companies and products and projects really trying to find PMF, like product market fit, like really saying, all right, like, can we use this stuff to actually solve somebody's problem? The profit motive in crypto, because the tokens are liquid immediately, it has encouraged and incentivized some bad behavior. And as a result, a lot of the good stuff has gotten overshadowed, unfortunately. I think we're finally at a point now where there's enough real builders trying to solve real problems that the promise of crypto, the stuff that unfortunately, some of the bad actors have promised a lot of people, is actually starting to be true. It's a complicated beast, though, because anytime you start touching money, the regulations come into play, and that's obviously been a real uphill battle globally. But it seems like we're finally getting there.
Yeah. Phil, I know you're, and I want to definitely have you give a shout here to you too, Phil. You do so much from HashPack standpoint for the community and everything else, and you've had a chance to meet with Miguel a few times. I know right now you were mentioning before we even hit record, you're at a conference in Canada right now, and now the hot topic is like artificial intelligence. So what's that like, and just your kind of broader thoughts on the space, and then we'll dive a little bit deeper into Pump Games.
It's crazy. There's been 2 panels right now. It's from Blockchain Canada, and they're hosting these events multiple times per year. And the panels are really interesting. They're talking about blockchain integration into government level and really bigger entities as to how can you keep on farming Bitcoin, how you can have integrations, and hopefully maybe compliance and potentially what we call mass adoption, right? But so far in 2 panels, basically no one was talking about blockchain technology or even Web3. Everyone's going ham into AI. So probably going to be a Trojan horse. I don't know. The conversations are really great, but it goes to show like the overall mind share and mind field as to what this is out there, especially for folks who do not know what a Web3 is, what's a wallet, or what's crypto, right? So yeah, it's definitely interesting.
100%. Well, I know, Miguel, you mentioned kind of, you see that this opportunity in gaming right now. I'm one of the, I'm kind of the opinion that eventually, and I don't think that we're there yet. I think eventually blockchain, crypto, distributed ledger is just going to, essentially upgrade everything that we already do, whether it be gaming or social media or, anything. And I know right now we use terms like Web3 gaming or blockchain gaming. I think in 15 or 20 years, we're just going to continue calling it gaming. And then blockchain ledger might be used in for whatever reason under the hood. But I think, competition among communities is really interesting. I still think like gaming and probably social media are maybe the two biggest use cases from a retail standpoint, that really haven't like had any mass adoption type initiatives yet. So tell us a little bit about Pump Games, what you guys are doing, where the idea sparked from, and how people can kind of participate.
Yeah. So when I was at Forte, somebody much smarter than me with a lot more experience in gaming once said, hey, if you want to make a game successful, you need to make it as social and competitive as possible. If you can do those two things, you have a shot. And even then, obviously, there's no guarantee because gaming is brutal. So from that lens, we started building the previous iteration of this, which was really meme coin games. We were going out to meme coin communities and basically offering to build one game per community. And the feedback certainly from folks was that, hey, this is going to be difficult to scale. Like we went out to raise and investors were like, this is going to be really tough. Like we like generally the idea, but this is hard. You guys should build a platform, right? You should bring everybody to one place and allow folks to fire up a team for their community and have them play games, vis-a-vis that banner. And that's what we started doing about 8 weeks ago now, maybe 9 weeks ago. And in that journey, as we were talking to communities across the space, I got to meet the folks at Hedera, and they've been incredibly supportive. And I think there are some chains and some products that obviously are more enterprise focused. They're more institutional focused. They have different use cases, the RWA stuff, as an example. And I think finding the right sort of first home for us here was important, and Hedera has been great. And that's how Hedera introduced us to Phil and the HashPack folks and the SaucerSwap folks. And it's been really fun building with and for that crew.
Yeah, and I'll give another shout out to HashPack for those that might be watching that aren't aware. And I'm sure the vast majority are. HashPack is obviously the leading wallet within the Hedera ecosystem. At least 95%, if not more, monthly active users, and the whole team is great. I wanted to bring up something because you and I had a quick discussion, and we won't do super long here, but beforehand, kind of just talking about doing an interview and stuff like that, Miguel. And one of the things you said, which was really interesting to me, is I think one of the problems that we see in crypto and blockchain all the time is like you have all of this, like, all this, like, okay, let's say massive funding and things like that. And then you have these kind of projects or teams that, attain that and then try to build this perfect thing over months and months and months. And when it gets to, let's put it out there in the wild with our user base. If the user base doesn't use the product in a way that they, the team that built it foresees, that becomes a major issue versus being a little bit more agile and just kind of building and deploying and then getting feedback and then tweaking as you kind of go. Can you maybe talk a little bit about that? Do you remember when I'm assuming you remember when we talked about that?
Yeah, and this is a reference in some respects to what I was saying before about more Web2 type building, finding PMF, being nimble, really listening to users, and all of this sort of dovetails, right? So the liquidity piece of crypto, I think, has lowered the bar, at least has. I don't know if it will continue to do so, with respect to what VCs will fund, because they know that the liquidity will happen very quickly. So they're more willing, I think, to sort of go out on the risk curve, if you will. That then funds projects that maybe shouldn't get funded, or maybe get funded too early, or with an idea that is not going to get product market fit, but it doesn't matter. They have all the money, so they're going to build the perfect product. And then you go out to market, and in crypto, you try to force feed users the product by incentivizing them. And none of that works, right? What you end up with is a bunch of bots and farmers, and you waste all the money, and hopefully you get to TGE so you can take some money off the table and reward your investors for taking the risk. But man, none of that is going to solve a problem or build joy, or bring joy to a user base. None of that is user focused. None of what I just said. It's all about like, hey, what's good for me? What's good for my investors, right? So we've definitely taken a different approach, and have been slowly but surely iterating and just kind of taking off little bite-sized pieces of the product to try to get to something that people really want to use. My goal for this thing, and our goal as a team, is to have everybody in crypto at some point during the day come to the site and play a game for whatever reason, right? So that's what we're going to try to do.
So what's the vision here as far as like, because I know you guys are starting on Hedera, which is really cool to see, and you have HashPack, and there's Pack involved, you have SaucerSwap, and there's Sauce involved.
Yep.
What's the vision for kind of the competitions here, and what it's going to kind of look like over time, I guess? Yeah. And then I should notice, like, or mention, I told both you guys, I spun up a wallet before this on HashPack, and we're going to probably, it'll take like a minute. I'll demo the game here for everybody before
High
we
score.
ramp out a little while.
High score. Let's go.
High score.
So I think a few things as well, just to sort of talk about the ethos of the site and sort of what we're trying to do. We are not, we haven't launched a big reward program. We're not going to be inflating a token if we ever launch one. Like the goal here is to basically create value through activity, and then give that value back to the users in a way that is appropriate. So right now the mechanic is very, very rudimentary. You play a game, you watch an ad, you earn some tokens, you earn some points. Right? That's basically what happens. That is going to evolve significantly. The game will get more progression, and you'll have basically weekly goals and competitions and challenges, if you will, and you can do that standalone, just as like I can come to the site and just kind of play and do stuff that's good for me. Additionally, right, the bigger kind of goal for the site is to have chain-based teams, right? Like we started with Hedera, as I mentioned. We have Pack and Sauce. I think the next thing for us is to probably launch the HBAR team, right, which would be the big thing, right? And then go to other big chains, right? XRP, Sui, Say, Aptos, Avalanche, whatever. And then have weekly or daily competitions amongst that cohort of folks. And what we're thinking about at the moment is for the live competitions, we'll make them sort of, you have to pay to play, right? You put $1 down, 50 cents, whatever it is, play in the competition, and the losers' money goes to buy the winner's token, and then that would get distributed to the winner. So that's the high level idea at the moment. But we got a lot of building to do first.
Sure. No, and I think one of the things that'll be cool, and I think that's kind of missing across crypto, and you and I talked a little bit about this too, Miguel, is like you in crypto, you see a lot of like smoke and mirrors. So like, and I still think like you look at some of these networks and how many users they say that they have, and it's like, well, what's a user? You know what I mean? Like a user to me is somebody that's just actually doing something, not just like a wallet that's spun up that's like essentially acting as vaporware. So I think it'll be really interesting to watch. But that being said, I mean, I think what are you excited for in, I guess, the near future for what you guys are doing with Pump Games? I know Pack and HashPack and SaucerSwap and Sauce, but yeah, lead us out with maybe the near term and what you're looking forward to.
Yeah, I think in the next 6 weeks we'll have 4 chains live, sort of at the chain team level, and an alpha version of the competition platform product. So that's next, and we really do take it 4 to 6 weeks at a time.
Yep.
Yeah, and if we can do that and show some traction, then I think that'll give us more. Just Look, it's launching one of these things is like it's like walking in a dark hallway and finding where the light switches are on the wall, and just
That's
like
true. Yeah.
and then you can see a little more, and then you go more, and then you go more, right? You know, I'm not trying to sprint down the hallway and find out that there's just a wall at the end of it.
It actually makes a lot. I mean, for me, it makes sense, and obviously, not financial advice on any of the ecosystems or any of this stuff, but it's nice to see kind of these, like I said, like this really kind of just straightforward agile like methodology as far as like, hey, let's like launch, deliver. I'll tell you, if you get, you know, the 3 or 4 chains launched, I already told you this before, and I'll raise my hand for a cross-chain interview all day of the week. So you can do some gamification live. But that being said, I'm going to hop into the game here and I'm going to test this out. You guys might hear music if it actually goes through. Sometimes we have
live demo.
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
Let's go.
No, I'm colorblind too, by the way, so you have to bear with me.
No way.
No,
You're not colorblind.
I am.
Already clutched. Wow.
Yeah, there you
go. I'll get it. Don't worry.
Boom. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, yes.
Color wheel.
Let's go.
Come on, whammy. Where are you at?
Color bomb, right, upper right-hand corner. You got a color.
Oh, yeah.
Bam.
Oh,
dude, this is giving me ideas of like team mode, where somebody's playing and everybody else is sort of keeping eyes on it and giving you.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, that's good. That is so good, Miguel. That is so good. And you stream it. You stream.
And you can stream.
Come on, color blindness. No.
Ooh. And we take turns. People take
wait.
turns. And then
there you go.
Oh. Yeah. Wow. Well done. How many?
Yeah.
920 points you got?
920. Dude, I was playing it before. Like for like the hour before this interview. I played a few games. I had one that was like 3,000 points. So I mean, I didn't attach any money or anything yet, but I'm still. I told you guys, like I'll download games sometimes and like I'll have to delete them like 3 or 4 months later from my phone or my laptop because I get like hooked and I'm like, I'm not being productive at all and anything else. Like I'm buying golf clubs that aren't even in the real world. Like I'm playing golf. But anyways, guys, no, I think it was awesome. Miguel, always feel free to hit us up if you need any interview or anything like that. And I'll give a huge shout out to Phil and the entire HashPack team.
Of course.
And HashPack helps us to put these podcasts together. So that being said, gentlemen, I'll tell people let me try to get here. You guys can go to pump.games and check more out. Hashpack.app. Hold on a second. Mute. Pump.games on X with no dots. And then pump.games on your web browser to learn a little bit more about what these guys are doing. And again, at HashPack app on X and HashPack.apps. But Miguel and Phil, hang out with me for a second to make sure I get these recordings. And thank you guys both for joining today.
All right, man.
Of course. Always a pleasure.